here without any particular order. You've met him before. Of BirdBuddy, here is Franci Zidar. Of GSV Ventures, here's Jennifer Lee. Of Bible Chat, Marius, Iordache. And of Unfold.vc, Magdalena, Surowiec. Welcome on stage to the four of you, and that's the part where you applaud. Good. Hello, before I have the four of you introduce yourself, oh, you brought us something. That's awesome. You brought your notebook. That's cool. I like that approach. What moves you makes you. I love that. Let's see what the results is. What do you believe is the #1 factor in building resilient teams? Shared purpose and values, say 40% of you. Diversity of skills and background, 33%. Clear communication, 20%. And only 7% say strong leadership. Now, Franci, we've met you before. Maybe just in a sentence for those who have not seen you before, tell us who you are and what you do, please.
All right. So my name is Franci. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of BirdBuddy. We sell connected devices for mostly the American backyard, and we're somewhat successful.
Somewhat successful. I like that. Over to you, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Lee. I'm a partner at GSV Ventures. It's good to be back in the region. So GSV Ventures is a venture capital fund focused on learning and education, and that's at any age and any stage. What we say is pre-K to gray. And why I say it's good to be back is before joining GSV Ventures, I was the chief growth officer at a company called Photomath, which was started out of Croatia. And so it's fun to be back.
Good to have you. Thank you. Marius.
Hi, I'm Marius. I'm the CTO co-founder of Bible Chat, also the CMO, but behind all these titles, I'm actually a coder. So I identify mostly as a coder, not necessarily.
I love that I identify as a coder. I know everything about you and you do. That's awesome, dude. Thank you very much. Magdalena.
Hello. Magdalena Surowiec, partner at Unfold.vc, Poland. The last 7 years are spent on VC side, before 15 years running the company. And in general, we invest, as a VC, we invest in Poland, but also in US and Germany. And thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming along. And the topic is called Survive, Adapt, Grow, the DNA of Resilient Teams. What's a resilient team? Let's just jump right into the deep end. Grab the microphones. Magdalena, go for it. Tell me.
Resilient team.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe my answer is not unique, but from my point of view, it's a ability to quick, fast adoption. Yeah, in a face of challenges, problems, unknown reality. So if you have resilient team, it means that it's not about only surviving, but it's ability to transform challenges to grow to improvement. Yeah. So this is my.
I like that. Who would like to add to that? Or are you all saying like, no, it's perfect, we're done?
I would add that for me, resilient teams are also those that are committed deeply to helping solve the problems of their users. Right? So whatever roadblock you hit, which you will, in course of working and creating a startup, as I'm sure these guys can share with you, it's that you care deeply about your user needs and you're continuing to work through all those little hiccups that come along the way.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Anything to add, gentlemen? You don't have to, only if you feel like it.
So I think growth is a big part of it. Like as the company grows, the team has to grow, right? So if it's resilient, I guess it's able to do that. But it kind of speaks to solving challenges as they come and pivot and adapt, right? But that is part of growth fundamentally, right?
You don't have to, only if you feel like it.
Yeah.
It's not like
I should say something.
No, you don't have to. You can just be here. It's nice.
Yes. So for us, resilience, it's something we do day to day. We fight battles almost daily, and I think the entire team it's built this way. Like our mindset is only to fight all these battles every day.
Is resilience something you can build from scratch, or is resilience something that occurs?
I think it's
Faster.
fundamentally a part of you, like as a person, often, mostly. So when you're hiring, you're also kind of hiring for resilience, I guess. But that's kind of hard to identify. I guess it really shows when shit hits the fan. For lack of a better word. Yeah.
That was a fantastic word. Just from the pure picture it's creating, it's very metaphorically spoken. You know, sometimes you say things a million times and then you visualize what it actually means. Standing in a beautiful room and go like, yeah, I don't want that. So, yeah, see, you've never thought that one through, did you? Did you, Jennifer? Seeing your response like, yeah, man, he's right, that would be quite a mess. We don't want that happening. Marius?
Yeah, so I think it's like a muscle that you train for. I think as a person, it's something also built into you. Like, I don't think I would compare it with an athlete. You might train, but you will not become number one. So you might not be able to cope in this environment if you're not built like this. So it's something that's really embedded in our hiring process. The first week is something that we really put a lot of focus on how you could overcome some challenges.
Magdalena, I saw a very strong response in you when he just said, it's like a muscle. Yes, it is.
I think it's possible to build resilience in general, yeah? It's building habits, culture, resilient team. But and I think that from the early beginning, founders needs to find the right people on the right seat on the bus. So you mentioned about it. You mentioned it during your presentation. Yeah, I think it's crucial because without right people on the right seat, even the best strategy will not save you. But if you have so-so strategy, but resilient team, they can support, they can adopt, they can improve. So together we can approach what you want.
Can you test resilient teams from the outside? Let's say you're looking to invest into a team, you're curious if there's something. Is it something you can see from the outside, or is resilience rather something that's revealed once, the shit hits the fan?
I think it's very few who are privileged enough to go through life never facing struggles. And so it's great if you're talking to a founder who's later stage, raising their Series A, Series B, and they can give you specific examples and talk to it. When you're talking to people who are in seed and in the pre-seed area, I think there are still examples throughout their life that you can look for. And I think that as a founder, you want to not hesitate from sharing where are great examples when you're demonstrating the characteristics that are important to the partners or the potential funders that you're talking to.
Could you give me an example?
In terms of examples where someone was resilient before?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's situations where you see people who, we have founders who were first-time college students, right? What did that take to be able to get into college? What did they face? How did they think about the opportunities that were not present to them in the very beginning? We have founders who, one founder who actually went through, was extremely successful, had an IPO, the whole shebang, and he can still talk a lot about the struggles that he faced, what happened when the market dipped. I mean, so there's always examples within life where you can highlight where you have shown an ability to work through, the problems that invariably, like I said, it's too privileged of a life if you've never faced any problems.
Sure. No, but I'm just kind of curious, and is there maybe also some personal war stories, one or two of you would like to share? Because that's always the most fun part, where your resilience was really tested, and which was also something which you like reverting back, where really the nitty-gritty was shown. You got the 1,000-yard stare, Marius, like, yeah, I got one.
Yeah, I can share one of my previous experiences. So back at the previous company that me and my co-founder were part of, we were doing like 20,000 apps automatically across like hundreds of developer accounts.
20,000?
Yes. And one day Google decided to close our account.
Oh.
All the accounts. It was something like a difficult moment for all of us. We were maybe 100 people at that point. We hope that we will get the accounts soon. It was a difficult reviewing process. A Chinese company did something very bad that you were able to do if you had a keyboard app, and we had keyboard apps across all of the developer accounts. And that process took like 6 months, and in that period, like few of us left, maybe 10.
Out of 200?
Out of 100 and something, yeah. And that was a moment when we actually discovered we really discovered each other.
And did resilience come rather from a purpose you needed to solve, or from a deep commitment into your venture?
So it was a bootstrap company. We didn't have any external VCs. There was maybe some internal struggles between I was not a co-founder there. I received part of the company because I was the first employee. Mm-hmm. But the struggle was between the two founders who shared equal percentage of the company. And I think there's something that is not good to start a company like this. Someone needs to take the role to lead, and actually decide it's gonna be my approach. We will not debate every day who's in charge. I think that's something really important that we learned. And now with this company, I'm not leading, so.
I'd just like to emphasize that. I mean, you just said right now, essentially, if the two of us would start a company now, you wouldn't go for 50-50. You'd go for 60-40 or...
No.
No. 75-25? No.
I don't really care.
Okay, so we'll do for 90 and 10 and you do all the work?
It's fine.
Cool, we have an agreement there. You coder first again, Sunshine. No, but I'm curious on that. I think that's an interesting approach to say, okay, if you want to build a resilient company, first of all, you need to establish someone with a clear leadership role also on the cap table.
Yes.
What's your thought on that? If I look at the other three, you're like, nope.
Maybe you should say something as a VC.
You couldn't hear that. Marius has basically said, essentially, if you want to have a resilient company, you need to create a clear leadership position, and that also has to be shown on the cap table, so to speak. So that you don't have 50-50 and everyone has the same. You can also give it a thought. Franci was just about to jump in, and then we'll have you.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into detail, I guess, but there is some level of, your comment, I think, is super important. I think equity is important, but I think it's, as long as you've been a part of the founding team, you probably have enough, if the company is super successful, to have enough to really be well off. And then I guess founders are rarely this is it and I'm done, you'll probably do something else at some point. And so it's an ongoing thing. But starting off, usually it's like a 50-50% split, or it's 3 people and it's thirds. That hardly ever works out very well, right? Unless somebody really is able to kind of step away and allow somebody else to really do the leadership positions. And we have gone through a couple of periods where both that equity split, as well as just the kind of naive approach to hiring people, really didn't go as well as, not that I would expect it to go well, but it didn't go well, period, right? And then you have to deal with it, and it's fine, but it's a part of kind of growing as a leader, right, and dealing with things that are super hard. But it is important, I guess if you have that experience going in it again, you have to be very mindful of what that creates, what kind of dynamic that creates in a team, right?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So, from VC point, I think that it's clear situation. So, if we have founders who are really engaged in the company, we want to have them stronger in cap table. That's only one, I would say, rule, yeah? So if you are not engaged, it's a problem for us, yeah?
Sure.
Or we should discuss, yeah? Why?
Sure. I'm curious just about the resilience point of view, because resilience doesn't naturally mean, or I'll try and put it into a question. Resilience doesn't just mean having to be able to handle with, let's say, negative adversary, But it could also mean handling hypergrowth. It could mean some incredible events that just make the company just explode in a positive sense. Jennifer, I mean, you know a thing or two about hypergrowth, right? I'm curious, what did you learn while experiencing hypergrowth about resilience? I'm assuming you need to have a very resilient company that doesn't fall apart when the thing accelerates.
So number one thing, make sure your back end and your infrastructure is extremely strong. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's something I really took for granted at Photomath, that they went from, when they first launched, I think there was a debate around, how many downloads do you think we're going to get when we go TechCrunch Disrupt in London? And it was like, I think we'll do really well. I think it'll be like 10,000. Another person's like, no, we're going to kill it. It's going to be like 50,000. And like the first day it was 500,000, right? Or something ridiculous like that. And the app never crashed. They were incredibly able to maintain. So one is just like make sure your backend infrastructure is good, and I've always really appreciated the strength of the Photomath team from that perspective. But as we continue to scale and you get into your tens of millions of monthly active users, I think the thing that was really key was to make sure that we still felt the urgency, right? You cannot be complacent because the expectation for growth and the opportunity to continue growing is still there. Right? And the expectations from your investors will still be there to hit that next level. So for us, we were somewhat fortunate in that there were always new entrants into the space. And that helped keep a sense of urgency. So I remember very distinctly the day that Microsoft, after talking to us 4 months ago, do you want to partner? And we said, no, we're too busy. They decided to release the exact same version of the app. They copied everything from UI to logo. Our tagline in the App Store at the time was scan, solve, learn. They said scan, draw, learn. It was and they said, here's a huge company who could care less about monetizing on students, right? And they're going to put this out for free. Like that's a huge competitor that came in. And I think it was kind of saying heads down, saying, okay, well, what will they do? What are the strategic decisions that are going to be important? What will we do? And it was a great founding block from when TikTok and ByteDance did the same thing to us a year later, right? And came into the market with Gothmath, and they bought the App Store several times. Not bought the education top app, they bought the top listing in the App Store, above Facebook, above TikTok, above Google, like everyone you could imagine for one education app. How do you continue to grow in those situations, right? So I think having that sense of urgency, sometimes it comes externally, and sometimes you just point out to your team, hey, we got to keep moving here.
I'm thinking when that happens, that's like an oh shit moment, right? Where you see it and go, oh, that's bad. How did that test the resilience of the team? Because I'm thinking there are probably a lot of people going, oh no, we're done for, we missed the momentum, we missed the opportunity, we're going to get smashed, this is really bad, let's do some knee-jerk thing, blah, 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 blah. How come? Why didn't we exit? Blah, blah, blah. Talk us through some of the best bits.
Yeah, I think oh shit was definitely what crossed my mind that day. And I think you need to sit in it for a day, and then you need to go back and say, hey, what were we focused on? What are the keys to our success? What do we know is going to drive and continue driving our growth? And you just continue chugging away at it, right? And you don't get distracted. You don't try to become reactionary. And that was kind of, let's see over the next 3 months if we continue to focus, put our heads down, stay true to, we know what our users care about, what's going to be required for growth. Are we going to see them eat our lunch or not? And I think, 3 months, 6 months later, we saw no, we can continue our top spot in the App Store consistently after that.
Marius, I have the feeling there's a story going in your head. I can see it buzzing up there. Tell me.
For us, every day, we have so many things that we can work on, and the impact could be huge. Regarding what you said, like if a similar situation were to come to us, I think we were at the point where we can do so many things differently, like let's say somebody comes and makes another Bible chat for free and invests more money than us in marketing and do it much better. I think we are at the point where we have a lot of value built in the company that we can maybe look at the problem in a different angle, not only in the perspective of who has the most user in the shortest amount of time. Maybe we can work more on retention, or essentially extinguish other fires that are currently burning in the company.
I think it's mostly keeping focus on the customer, right? And this is something you said earlier, and I think that really resonates with me. I think it's something that we're a consumer company, like both of us, right? And all of us, I guess, we've had that experience. And I think focusing too much on competitors makes you lose sight of your user, right? And I think that the core focus should be on your user, on their experience, the metrics, retention, all that stuff, right? And making sure you're building something that they like. Because ultimately, you don't want to be growing always through like ads or meta, right? You want to do product-led growth, user-led growth, and if you build the right community, you'll win, right? And it's not who spends the most money, it's who has the best product, the most trust, the best community, right?
That's a clear learning. By the way, if you have questions, just smash it into Slido. I'm happy to take them anytime. Now, for me, I understand how founders, let's say like the ones with ESOP, so it's employee stock options and so on, become very resilient. But the more the company grows, the more you have people maybe less, mission focused. Maybe it becomes just a job for them, and then suddenly something really crazy happened. The company shifts into crisis mode. Are there kind of like things you looked out for when a crisis came along, where you tried to kind of put your finger onto the vibe in the company if the team is as resilient as you hope them to be, and where there's certain, let's say, cracks you could spot early, or was that never an issue? So if you're saying, okay, obviously founders they'll be quite resilient. The old ones on board with ESOP, yes as well, but the ones just doing their job and we're like, hey, that's hard. How did that go along?
I'll just say this. So we've had those moments. It always worked out, which I guess means that we have a resilient team, right? So you don't know that, to my earlier point, until it happens. Also, this is, I don't know how this sounds, right? But I do think there's a lot of people that are just, they're not, even if they're not super resilient, they're not inclined to just leave the company at the first sign of trouble, right? So it's not necessarily a sign of resilience. It's kind of it's the easier path to stay and try for a while, right? I guess if it was like a prolonged period of extreme stress, I'm assuming some people would leave, right? But I guess a couple of months or 6 months, most people can work through that, right?
Mm-hmm. I think for us, it's like how we build the team. We don't have people that are just doing something that other people told them to do. Like, we don't actually have middle management, and everybody who is part of Bible Chat, we are 25 people, so not a huge team. Everybody who is part of Bible Chat found something that resonates with them. Either it's you feel free to work on what brings you the most joy every day. You have autonomy. You have maybe friends there. You start to become friends with one another. Something resonates more than just a job. And I don't think they will leave at the first sign of trouble.
Magdalena, I just saw a strong expression on your face.
I want to ask, may I
Please,
ask a
go
question?
for it.
So what is it? It's a culture that you create, that you're able to create. What is it about? I think it's the secret, sauce.
I think yes, but I don't think it's an algorithm that you read from a book and you try to apply. It's something that resonates with me pretty deeply. I try to understand each other. Anyway, if they pass the first week, as I said, they must be really good. And as we start to work together, I try to invest like the first week or two to work with a new hire, to really understand their value. Because sometimes if you don't really know your employees, you may put them to the wrong things for them. So they will not feel joy while they're working. So I try to acknowledge where they might be where they're gonna be excellent about, and maybe I hire someone to be an back-end developer, and I find that his role should be different, and I try to encourage him to follow his like his dream.
I'm curious, just for the fun of it, to ask it. Do you think, to all of you, do you think there's a difference if teams are hybrid or, let's say, fully remote or not when it comes to resilience? Because, I mean, you were just essentially saying, okay, you spend time with the people, obviously on site.
I don't resonate with remote.
You don't resonate. So you're saying, come to the office, stay there.
Yes.
Why don't you resonate with remote?
I think we, like, after the pandemics, a lot of engineers, I have a lot of friends, engineers, everybody was bragging how many jobs they can get in the same time. And this trend started to get more and more traction around people. And I think if you don't have a really good management team that could really keep them on track and accountable, you will not get a lot of value from them. So since we don't like to build it that way, we had a lot of remote workers that could not keep up with what happened in the office. It's either because they were working somewhere else or because they saw that nobody asked them daily what they are doing, and laziness probably. I don't know.
I think it's super hard to combine it. So if you have people that are coming in the office, and then you have people that are remote are at a major disadvantage, like culture-wise and productivity-wise. So it's really, I've seen people work remote, and we have people that work remote and do a really good job, but it's mostly because they have to be in the US and it's because it's a US role. But they're extremely self-sufficient and efficient, and not everybody can do that. Like every once in a while, you find somebody who can really take good care of themselves and integrate in the team well. Most people can't, and then they're at a major disadvantage, and it's just a recipe for not a disaster, but like not a great outcome. Often, yeah.
I'm curious to ask Jennifer and Magdalena on that. Like from a VC perspective, let's be honest. How much does like the remote, non-remote play into the resilience you're looking for when you're doing a kind of an assessment of the teams?
I would say in venture, there's no such thing as an absolute, right?
Sure.
Every startup is its own unique, beautiful snowflake because it's made up of unique, beautiful snowflakes and individuals. And so whether or not something is remote or hybrid, honestly, I don't know that I ask that question just to understand how they operate, but I don't ask that as like a filtering question.
Understood.
Right? And I think what's really important that everyone has highlighted here, both on the stage, is that it's really about what is the strong culture that is coming from the leadership, and how do they ensure that consistency as the company grows and scales, right? And for some, that might mean always being in person. For some, it'll be like, hey, you know what? We have an amazing talent pool of engineers in Croatia. We needed to start building sales and product and data analytics in the United States. We're going to have to go hire somebody like Jennifer, right, and help build out the US team. Like, it's kind of, each case is unique, and I think it's more about the strength of communication and the how that relates and translates into cultural and processes around culture that is more important. Magdalena, as a venture.
100% I agree with you. Yeah.
So it's not a red flag, but it's a flag you like taking a serious
it's
look
about
at.
understanding the founders and the leaders' mind, how they want to build the culture, how they want to build the teams, and the products. So they should feel free how to do this. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't manage it,
Makes sense.
Because we are not a leader on their position. We are not. We just deliver capital and sometimes smart money. Yeah, it's the legend of smart money.
Here's a question from Slido. I'll just stand up to read it easier. Challenges strengthen team resilience. Should you build a sense of urgency or invent refocused challenges to build resilience in good times to prepare for hard times? I had you inhale, grab the microphone, Jennifer.
Absolutely. I think the way to do that is to constantly push yourself and say, hey, I was smart about my capital and the amount that I've raised and efficiency, and so I have 2 years of runway. But you know what? For the team, we have to act like we have less than 12 months. And why do you have to act like there's less than 12 months of runway? Because that gives you focus. And the number one thing that's important for growth and scaling for a venture or startup is to ensure that your team is fully focused and they know what everyone is focused on. There's alignment. And so sometimes one way to arbitrarily do that is say, what are the decisions you would make if you had less than 12 months left to run?
I agree with you. It was basically something that we discussed every day in the daily stand-up for the first year of Bible Chat. We will die soon. That was the main focus, and everybody was like, we should do something to not die.
That's a nice way of starting a stand-up. Good morning. We're going to die soon.
Yeah.
Let's not die.
Yeah. Actually.
I like that. It's
Actually,
good.
it was like that.
Really, that speaks a lot about your culture. For a company called Bible Chat about talking about not dying. I like that. You're a fun person. That's quite cool. What about Bird Buddy?
So we ship hardware, so it's always hard times. Because there's a lot to manage. Supply chains, vendors, customers, returns, all that, right? So we never have a ton of cash because we spend it all on inventory and then we grow like crazy and then, so yeah, it's always good time to build resilience at Bird Buddy, I think. I think another way to do that is to have like really ambitious initiatives, probably something like product-related initiatives that have like really ambitious outcomes that you drive the team to try to hit like certain crazy goal, right? Because that's brings everybody together, aligns the vision, creates focus, but not through kind of some artificial stress, but through something that's a bit more, I don't know, exciting, right? But other than that, yeah, for us, it is rarely like a quarter that doesn't build resilience. Yeah.
And you just mentioned one thing, just to put it there, you mentioned hardware, and obviously that's a very different ballgame than shipping software, because you ship software pressing buttons, you ship hardware by, containers.
Yes.
And I'm assuming your resilience was probably tested recently, a little more than usual.
Yeah, totally. We made some really good decisions in 2024 that paid off in a major way, because we moved all production out of China, and not knowing at the time that it's going to be such a big deal, but now it was. So, yeah, we're very fortunate, I guess. And also, because whatever competitors we have are all Chinese, we're now in a really good position to do very well in 2025. But yeah, shipping hardware is...
Did you have the word tariff on your 2025 bingo card?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
It's on it now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, all jokes aside, if one orange man suddenly decides that tariff is his new favorite word, that can kill any business model, right?
So yeah, I mean, yes, but it raises the bar for everyone, right? Essentially. So we're not the only company that's incurring tariffs. So it creates, it's like just a new playing field. Still very difficult to deal with and difficult to raise debt or equity in that kind of situation, right? But yeah, I guess it's not something that fundamentally hits just one entity, and that makes it a little bit easier, but it's still ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean, just to ask that, I mean, have you ever encountered non-resilient teams that were successful? Just want to turn this around, because we're talking, we need to build resilient teams to be successful, and we talk about like resilience is this super duper thing we need to add on over time.
Personally, I didn't meet, but still I want to emphasize that building a resilient team, it's really hard job, really hard and time consuming. Yeah, and very often when I talk with founders, I can hear, hey, I can't do this or this because I am overwhelmed, and all the time I need to motivate, control people, and I don't have a capital to hire a better experienced people. Yeah, but so. That's the problem of the team now. No, it's your problem, because you're responsible for, doing this job, creating these people, and be careful who you invite to your team, and be careful who you invite to your cap table. Yeah, and so it's again, if you are not able to focus on this, I think, and I'm talking not only from VC perspective, but from the co-founder of some startup that I run 15 years almost, yeah, that if you are not focused on this, the chance to win is, is really small.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So basically we've agreed and we all need to be resilient, because otherwise there's no chance. Is this something, there's a question for Jennifer specifically. That's interesting. I haven't read it, I'll just read it out cold, I hope it's friendly. Jennifer, You mentioned Microsoft copying the exact same design, logo and UI of Photomath and making it free. What was your immediate first instinct and move to respond to that threat? Bonus? Did your heart skip a bit when you saw it?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I did was I felt like I kicked myself in the butt because 4 months earlier we'd been talking to them about a partnership. We said we're too busy, and I was like, oh, did I just kill Photomath? But you absolutely skipped a beat. I think the first thing that we did was to say, look, let's revisit, let's rethink our monetization model. Does this make sense in the face of somebody who's fully free? Will they be able to build what we have already built? We were actually monetizing what they had copied. They had essentially copied the free portion. They hadn't been able to copy yet the paid. And so we looked at it and said, do we think they're going to be able to do what we've done on the paid side? Honestly, no. Second was, okay, well, how much are they really going to invest in this? Like, the first thing they did was they tucked it into a portion of the Bing app. I was like, that's not a smart choice. And then they finally brought it out to its own app. The discoverability was bad. And so from the day one, you kind of start assessing what they're doing and said, strategically, I'm willing to take this bet that, we can keep building and continue servicing. It's exactly what you said in terms of, hey, what do your users care about? Are they going to fulfill that value? And can you continue to do it better, for your users going forward? And we kind of said there was a resounding yes on that front. So yeah, we reanalyzed everything. And what we came out with was like, no, we're okay. And at the end of the day, I think Microsoft built really great enterprise products. They don't have as much history yet on the consumer side. And so I think we were willing to believe that we could continue providing users a better experience.
Thanks for that honest answer. I have 15 seconds for a summary now, so I'll do my best to try and summarize what we talked about right now. We set out to understand how to survive, adapt, and grow the DNA of resilient teams. And if this were a drinking game, every time we used the word focus, we would be absolutely smashed, because that was the one word that came up the whole time. Focus, 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 and focus. So that's something we can agree on. It comes from absolute massive focus. Focusing on what? Well, focusing on creating a strong company. Who do we focus on? Well, on the customers, not the competitors. We can focus on the people we hire. We understood that we have to be careful whom we invite to our cap tables and whom we invite to our teams. And if we do invite someone to our teams, it makes sense to potentially hold their hands in a good way for the first part of the time, the first week, the first month, whatever it is, just to see how they're settling in, if they are settling in. And we also established potentially, that's a little bit harder if we're doing this remote, because it's hard to hold hands in a remote way. Now, resilience means we're essentially building a company, because in a company, you are fighting daily battles, and you'll only do that if you're really in it, if you really believe in what you want to do. And we also understood that the only way of being able to do that is by having a very clear leadership. You have to know who's the one who's driving this company, who's the one making this work, and essentially also who's responsible for the culture we have within the company. Because that's why people stay. And culture, we heard that this morning from Bernard, is how people behave when others aren't looking. What we need is strong communication and a strong sense of urgency. We said focus, focus, focus a million times more, but I think this is the thing. If you focus on what matters, you get stuff done. And we also understood it makes sense to prepare to get hard stuff done, even in good times, because if hard times come, we'll be fine. And we understood, speaking of hard, that hardware is hard and it gets even a little more challenging, but at the end of the day, it's just as challenging for everyone. It's the year 2025. We have a lot of interesting words in our bingo card. One of them was tariffs. We'll see what comes along, but I think at the end of the day, if we want to prevail, we need to be resilient, and that's what we need to look out for. That would be my takeaways. There's something I forgot that we should have mentioned on this.
I think that was beautiful.
Thank you very much. That was very nice of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.